Hello, it's Marshy here with my belated video edition of my newsletter AI versus Marshy. A bit later this week, we got hit by teething that was ridiculous. My poor partner Georgie was sick and it's just a bad week. And so, very happy to get the newsletter done yesterday and presenting the video now and scheduling it for tomorrow. So if you don't know, you can visit lukemarshall.net/newsletter to find out, about the newsletter and what I'm talking about, and check out old editions. You don't have to subscribe. You can just peek, scroll through them. And the goal of these videos is just to share it in a different format. I've found I've become better at talking to video over time and I've enjoyed it. So here we are. This week, I'm going to talk about the death of the internet and a lot of the discussion that comes from the internet becoming more and more generative and what those impacts are. I'm going to talk about what a personal RAG is and why that's interesting. And I'm going to close with a little pitch I did, or sharing about a pitch I did for ADHD Gold Machine. So, one of my nerdy things that I like to do is look at old articles that are saved that are bold predictions and then cross check with the future and see if they actually hit it. One that actually really bombed was this article by Kevin Kelly that was covering an augmented reality startup called Magic Leap. And I loved the demo video they shared. They even hired a really cool science fiction writer I like named Neil Stephenson at one point. Anyway, it's all defunct. Magic Leap never happened. It was a lot of hype. I don't think they could do what they wanted to do. And since then, Apple's released the Vision Pro. In my newsletter last week, I talked about photonic chips being invented with AI. That was amazing. And anyway, there's an article that was on the internet basically talking about the internet dying and sort of opens right away with how Reddit is overvalued and it's going to IPO in March and that stock price will tank. And sure enough, there it is in March, peaking here, and now it's dropped. And the argument that the author takes is that Reddit's borrowing off other people's content, and that's not a sustainable business model over the long run. The article sort of goes on about tech companies in general being kind of crap. He takes a shot at Google's search quality, and I'm going to hand on heart say I agree. Like, I used to search things 10 years ago and I'd find something interesting. Today, I search for something and it answers my query with the utmost precision, but it's dry, SEO optimized to the hilt, and I never learn anything. And so there's something going on there. Yeah, I'm biased. I used to work there. There's a lot in that. But I think this argument that generative AI is killing it is actually not the right argument. Tech companies are killing the internet because the business model for a tech company is create something useful or entertaining, achieve a critical mass, and then do whatever you can to profit off them and protect your moat. So, for example, Facebook gather people's content shares and put ads against it. Google's gather people's websites and get people to pay to send traffic to it. And OpenAI gather vast multitudes of data across the whole web and get people to pay for the algorithm that's trained on answering from that. And so, these processes are different for each tech company, but what they're all susceptible to is it's all monetization of other people's stuff. And so generative AI is accelerating that process and shining a light in it at a pace that none of us can really comprehend. And so I found that, I find just the internet dying argument just a little trite. There's more to it than that. In my newsletter, I talked to an article written by Maggie Appleton, which is, I think, a much better take. It's called The Expanding Dark Forest and Generative AI, and sort of talks to this, how this is what the web will be, a dark forest. And then this is where all the good stuff happens, the chat threads and Discords and WhatsApp groups and what have you. And like always, science fiction is almost the harbinger of what's going to happen. In the cyberpunk universe, they talk about the black hole, where the old internet is so dangerous that they needed to put a black wall, a massive firewall to protect from the rogue AI because it's that dangerous. And so, I don't think we'll ever get there. I'm a utopian, not a dystopian. Well, not either, really, but I definitely lean more towards optimism. So, yeah, but I thought it's an interesting discussion, and I think the internet's likely to get worse before it gets better. Take LinkedIn, for example. Like, I'm guilty of it as anyone of posting on there. Just sometimes I read it, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Cool, let's change gears and talk about building a personal knowledge AI. I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter concept, the magic item, the pensieve, where you sort of take a memory, pop it in this bowl, and then you can return to it later and pour over it. And it's really interesting. And I think about that for my notes, my scrivenings, my articles, anything I've saved. And this world's called personal knowledge management. And it's popularized by people like Thomas Frank, Tiago Forte. And one of the things that I'm yet to see done really well is using one of these personal knowledge management systems and then combining it with an AI. So, hey, I've read all these books. Tell me, look up something about, I don't know. And then the AI goes, the power of now. And yes, he talks about this. And that solution in a system, it doesn't really work very well currently. And so came across this guy called AI Jason, and he's, for someone English sounds like it's his second language. He's an incredible explainer of how this whole world works. And so he talks about the personal acknowledgement system, and then adds the AI layer, which is called RAG. So RAG is a retrieval augmented generation, and basically just a term for describing what I just want to do then. And he sort of explains why it doesn't work very well. And then there's charts and it's beautiful, and then he says that's one way to explain it. Then there's a more complicated way. He goes into all the detail here. It's amazing. Probably not amazing for everyone unless you're a nerd in this space. But what I like about this video is that he's showing you how to build a RAG with Llama 3, which is the open source that Meta's created, and you actually will be seeing. You should see if you're Australian and your WhatsApp, your Instagram, and your Facebook apps now. So you can use that now and build something like that for your own personal knowledge system, assuming you have one. Not everyone does. I do, but yeah. So that prompted me to think about a few things. I want to try and build one. I think that was one of the ideas. I loved this presentation style. Like, Cat doesn't make many appearances. Hey, Bonty. Where you do the head and do slides. I can do that till the cows come home. Maybe I'll do something soon. And then, completely unrelated, but it prompted the idea of putting the newsletter into a headless CRM so that I can upload and update over time and da-da-da. Yeah, if you were looking for something more practical in this space and sort of how to use ChatGPT now, there's a good podcast. I've picked on these guys in the past. It's called Marketing as Grain, and interviews the guy who co-founder of Every. And he talks about how he creates GPTs for repetitive processes that works really well for him. That's pretty much the video today. I did a live pitch about ADHD Gold Machine, something I've been talking about probably the last 7-8 weeks, 10 weeks maybe, and got some live crowd feedback, which is really nice. It's a small suburban mixer up the road, and it was really fun to just put the thinking out there. Reality is, this is probably going to be a slow burn. I just don't have time, energy to build something in sort of startup-like fashion. Definitely keeping an eye on it though, and it was good to get feedback from the crowd as well. So that's it. The only consistent thing that's happening in AI is that there's always change. For me personally, there's a few interesting projects on the horizon, particularly moves that could be made. Not much to share at this point, but yeah, exciting times for Marshy. And if you do subscribe to the newsletter, I included a little interesting article, completely unrelated to AI, that I thought was cool. If you ever read and like it, let me know, because I can nerd out on that stuff all day. You've watched or listened to AI versus Marshy. Thanks for watching. And again, if you'd like to subscribe and get these news in your inbox every Thursday, usually, then you can subscribe at lukemarshall.net/newsletter. Have a good week.